Hi guys. Okay, so yes, just the lighting is doing its thing. It's a little bit cloudy at the moment, but if the sun comes out, I'm gonna have to close the curtains. So yeah, welcome guys. Hope you're all doing really, really well. Okay, obviously gonna talk about the elephant in the room. We're gonna talk about the Queen and the passing of the Queen and how it relates to the Ascension journey and where we're at, and disclosure, and a couple of things that you guys should look into if you're a little bit confused by the divisiveness of what's happening on, I mean, obviously it depends on who your audience was, who your people that you're connected to on social media are, but my social media is very polarized at the moment when it comes to the Queen. We've got people talking about the royal family's history of colonization. We've got them talking about what they've done to indigenous people. We've got people talking about the Queen being a reptilian, people posting memes of lizards in a crown, and then we've got other people expressing a lot of like grief and sadness at the passing of this great monarch and this great matriarch. And firstly, I just want to neutralise some of those polarities. I'm not here to bash the Queen, and I'm not here to sing her praises either. I am going to talk about some things that are really uncomfortable that people should look into. But for what it's worth, I don't hate the Queen or the royal family. I think that they've been responsible for a lot of evil on the planet, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. And I haven't decided. I'm not sure what kind of terms are being flagged by YouTube at the moment. Some people were saying that, talking about certain things was getting their posts removed or fact checked. So I may put this video on my Odyssey channel. I haven't decided yet. If I do put it on my Odyssey channel, I'm going to post the link in the description box so you can watch it there. But if it's on YouTube, then here we are on YouTube, and welcome. Yeah, sorry, the temperature is all over the place right now. September in London doesn't really know whether it's summer, whether it's winter. I guess that's autumn for you. Okay, so obviously loads of conversations are being had in the mainstream about, the royal family's uncomfortable history of colonization, and the raping and pillaging of India and Africa. So, before anyone kind of chimes in and says, well, that was just, the legacy that she inherited and she doesn't really have much say in that, that's not actually true, okay? So, India got its independence from the British East India Company, which was kind of handed over to the Rothschilds, in 1947, and it was kind of split into three countries, well, what is now three countries, India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, which was created in the 70s. Obviously, there was a very massive bloodbath between Pakistan and Bangladesh, which the Queen is not responsible for. But the partition of India and Pakistan, the British were very much responsible for. They were in control of India at that time, and they did a lot to basically, a lot of divide and conquer between different religious groups so that they could, destabilize the region by, dividing that region into different countries. And they kind of looted India. India was a massive superpower when Britain went in during Queen Victoria's reign. And they absolutely decimated it. So obviously, a lot of the crown's artifacts, like the diamond in one of her crowns and lots of other artifacts that the Queen wore at her coronation, were stolen from former colonies. So a lot of the conversations being had in the mainstream are about that history and about how a lot of those countries want their stuff back, which I think they have every right to. And the British Museum is also full of lots of stolen artifacts. So I don't really want to focus too much on that stuff because that conversation is going to be had so widely in the mainstream. I want to kind of go into some of the stuff that's not going to be talked about in the mainstream, that needs to be talked about more, that more people should know about. One thing I will point out though was the Queen gave a speech with a golden piano in the background that was stolen from Iraq. Now, I don't know if it was stolen during the Gulf War or previously or during the most recent war in Iraq, but the Queen did co-sign the illegal invasion of Iraq, for which 1.2 million people, 1.2 million civilians were killed. So make of that what you will. I know some people have said, yeah, but she was forced to. She doesn't really have any say. She has to do as she's told. Fine, okay, that's another debate, but that's the legacy that she's left behind. Okay, I'm sorry, I got notes here because there were so many things that I wanted to say, so I want to make sure I don't leave anything out, because we're kind of going to go in. I'm going to like build up a picture and connect a few dots. So obviously, the royal family were responsible for the residential schools in and the Queen was responsible for the residential schools in Canada and Australia, in which Indigenous children were stolen from their families and indoctrinated so that they could assimilate into Western white culture. And I'm going to talk in more depth about some of these residential schools. Okay, so many truth seekers and light workers have known about a man called William Combs for many years. I heard about this man years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. So William Combs was a student at the Kamloops Residential School in Canada, and he tells of a story and you should go and research this story, look it up yourself, look at all the evidence that's presented and decide for yourself what you think of this story. Okay, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip went to visit the school with no entourage. They took a group of, I think it was maybe 12 to 14 children down for a picnic at a place called Dead Man's Creek. He noted that the Queen actually made all the children kiss her foot, which is just, you know, I just think that that's just something that needs to die. And he said that there were 10 children from that picnic that went off with the Queen and Prince Philip that no one ever heard. He said they lived locally, no one ever heard from them or saw them again. They just went missing. So he presented this evidence at a common law court in, I believe it was Brussels, some kind of European common law court, which is a court of the people under common law. And Prince Philip and the Queen were found guilty of the disappearance of these children, and there was a warrant issued for their arrest. Now, obviously, being a common law court and, you know, most of the police forces that we have in Europe, in the world even, are admiralty law, maritime law, and don't answer to the people, they answer to the state. Most of us are living under police states. Nothing was done about this. Obviously, she's the Queen, so probably nothing would have been done about it. It was kind of buried and suppressed. Now, there was one police detective, I think somewhere in Europe. I can't remember the exact details, but please go and look this up. I didn't want to kind of wait too long to research and get all the 100% facts right, because that would have delayed this video by a few days, and I want to kind of get it out as soon as possible. But go and cross-reference it yourself and look this story up for yourself. It was a police detective that found the warrant, presented it to his superior and said, hey, should we look into this? Like, why is nobody looking into this? This is kind of quite damning. And he was mysteriously died in suspicious circumstances. Now, William Combs, the Indigenous man that gave the evidence, that was at the picnic himself, he also died in very suspicious circumstances. Okay, the infirmary in which he died, or the hospital in which he died, said that it was, I think, tuberculosis. Whereas the nurse that was treating him, she testified that she believes it was cyanide poisoning. And I've, watched her video on YouTube, her testimony on YouTube. I think the video might have been scrubbed. But maybe you can still find it on Rumble or BitChute if you look it up. If I find it, I'll try and link it either here or in the description below. But if I forget, go and look this story up yourself. Okay, I've told you who's the name of the guy, and you can definitely find all this stuff. Don't look on Google though, obviously. Even DuckDuckGo is a little bit hijacked now, so if anybody can recommend like a better search engine for which, because I found this stuff years ago before Google was censoring everything. So if somebody can suggest which is the best search engine to use now, please suggest that in the comment box. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why people are saying that the Queen is a lizard. And I'll talk about why people are saying that and what I think. Okay, so people say that because David Icke is probably the biggest proponent of this theory, but there are other people who are supposed SRA victims who have also given this theory that the Queen and the royal family are shape-shifting reptilians that will actually can shape-shift into human form. I'm not saying that this is what I believe, okay? I'm just saying that this is what they're saying. And there have been some victims of satanic ritual abuse that have testified that they've seen the Queen shape-shift into a reptilian. Now, personally, I don't believe these stories. I think that this is a bit far-fetched. You've got to understand that with Satanists or the dark side or Illuminati or whatever, they are going to have certain disinfo agents, okay? So just because there's a victim who's testifying to this doesn't mean that that's true, okay? That could be a disinfo agent who is trying to discredit the entire truth movement by making it sound completely ridiculous. That's personally what I think is going on, and I think that maybe any victims that are saying that they've seen that might be fake. That's just my personal intuitive opinion. Could be wrong, okay? Maybe she is, I don't know. But David Icke tells a story of when he met with a Zulu priest who said that he was contacted by Princess Diana. Now, in the Zulu tradition, they believe in the Chitahuri, and I'm going to talk a bit more about this, which is basically like a race of, like an elite bloodline. Okay, and the royal family belongs to one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, of which the Rothschilds and all the usual suspects, from like BlackRock and Vanguard and these very, very elite dynasties belong to. Okay, so she's one of them, and they are known as the Blue Bloods. And in the Zulu tradition, they basically say that, they're descended from like an alien race of reptilian beings. So because we in our galactic history, all humans are genetic hybrids of different star races: Andromedans, Pleiadians, Lyrans, Arcturians, Draco reptilians, Greys, all these different races of beings gave their DNA when we were being sliced by the Anunnaki. They talk about this in the Book of Enoch. You can go read that if you want to look at our galactic history. Book of Enoch, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth will, but be careful that some of these texts may have some distortions. You've got to piece it all together. Sumerian tablets will also talk about how the Anunnaki created humans as a slave race, and these are like ancient texts. Okay, so in the Zulu tradition, they tell a similar story. So the Zulu priest said that he was contacted by Princess Diana and said, you've got to listen, like what you're saying is so interesting because, I know what you're talking about and these people are not human. That's what he testified. Obviously, Diana is not here to verify or deny that information. Okay, but what I think is going on is that the royal family and the 13 Illuminati bloodlines have slightly more reptilian genetics than some of the other more commoner humans. I believe we all have. Okay, the sun's coming out. Let me just. Okay, personally, I believe that we all have reptilian genetics to some degree, and let me just focus the camera. What the hell? Okay, let me just okay, so I personally think we all have reptilian genetics. Lisa Renee talks about this. My mentor Emily Harris talks about this, about, our star lineages and our kind of galactic ancestry. And with angelic star seeds who have kind of incarnated into this planet to kind of disrupt things and to bring source into this realm to kind of help people who are trapped cycling in samsara, a lot of them have been coded with the mission to restore the lost kind of ascension teachings to humanity and have been severely targeted by reptilian genetics. So that basically means that if you're a star seed and you're here with a highly coded mission to help kind of liberate people from this cycle of samsara, through, various Ascension teachings, like, for me, Himalayan Kriya Yoga is one of them that I teach through my course, Reclaim Your Crown. You may have been targeted by reptilian genetics in your bloodline. So many of my clients that I work with have been targeted by, reptilian genetics, particularly in the masculine, in the paternal bloodline, where, it will be like a very narcissistic parent, a narcissistic grandfather, or a narcissistic grandmother, or a narcissistic father or mother, that is targeting and trying to shut down your innocence and your Christ-like energy that's here, kind of restoring the truth and love frequency to the planet. Okay, so I don't think it's just the royals that have reptilian genetics. I think it's much of the human population, but I think that they just probably have a lot more reptilian genetics than in the human common collective. And I think that this is why they're so interested in keeping their bloodlines pure, and why they constantly marry their cousins and things like that. So what happens with reptilian genetics is it keeps you in the R complex of your brain and makes you very, very service to self, very narcissistic, very not compassionate, not activating that hierogamic process of merging the masculine and feminine within. It's suppression of the feminine principle and overbalance of the masculine principle, which makes one more narcissistic or service to self. Okay, so just going back to the William Combs story. So that particular residential school that William Combs went to, again, I've known about this story for 5-6 years, okay? That particular school was exposed last year for having mass graves of children underneath it, who were being murdered and sexually molested by the priests and the nuns at that school. And this has been happening with a lot of these residential correction facilities to Indigenous children in Canada and Australia specifically, okay? So I think that there's no smoke without fire. So personally, I do think that they had some involvement in the disappearance of those children. Now, if you want to go really, really a lot deeper with this, and why, a lot of people are basically saying that the Queen is evil, I recommend that you look at the testimony of a person called Donald Marshall. He's here on YouTube, actually. He's got a YouTube channel called Human Cloning Centers. So his intel is pretty far out there, okay? And I'm not saying that what he's saying is true, but I will say that I spent about 4 days researching everything, all his material. He has a website where he gives lots and lots of stories about what he's been involved in. And he's done lots of podcasts and interviews here on YouTube. And he basically says that he's from a low-level Illuminati family, and he was memory suppressed until he was about 31, in which time that his memory started coming back to him. And he talks about what happens overnight in deep underground military bases where they have cloning centers, human cloning centers. And I'm not going to say too much, okay, because I want you all to go and listen to it, okay? The cloning centers itself, I don't think is too far-fetched, because we know that they have the technology for cloning, okay? They cloned a sheep and a cow in the 90s, and you can guarantee that when they, disclose that they have a certain technology, they've been doing that for decades before they tell the public, before they disclose the public, okay? State secrets are a real thing. There are technologies that government and alphabet agencies have that are secret, that are top. You need high-level clearance to get any whiff of, okay? So human cloning, I think, is one of those technologies that they've been using. So have a look at what he says. He basically gives his experience on, the whole lizard thing, and it's very different. It's not shape-shifting from what he says. Now, I'm not saying that what he's saying is true. I'm just saying it's interesting and you should look into it. I did cross-reference everything. I spent 4 days researching all the material during the pandemic. Obviously, we were in lockdown, so I didn't have a lot else to do. So I spent a couple of days cross-referencing everything that he mentioned. He mentions a lot of well-known people, a lot of, you know, celebrities and things like that, and there's a lot of things that you can cross-reference, and everything that I looked into, that I was able to cross-reference, checked out. So it's very uncomfortable but, you know, you do need a strong stomach before you kind of go into it, because he talks about some very dark things. Okay, so some people have been theorizing that the Queen has been dead for a really long time, and they've only just announced her death, and that whichever appearances we've seen of the Queen have just been a clone, and that she was actually executed for her crimes against humanity, which have been outlined by Donald Marshall, probably some other people as well that I'm not aware of, and obviously the William Combs story. And the reason why they've kept her death a secret. Now, I'm not saying that this is true either. I'm just saying this is one theory. I don't know what I believe. It's interesting. The reason why they've kept her death a secret or under wraps is because, obviously, with her head as the head of state, her face being on all the currency, not just in the UK, but in all the Commonwealth countries as well, we're obviously due a financial reset. So they're moving us from the fiat currency to the quantum financial reset, which will be an asset-backed digital currency. And governments are obviously trying to do their own digital currency because they want to maintain control over the populace, rather than have, you know, a quantum financial reset that will be decentralized, which will obviously give us a massive amount of freedom from slavery and from the clutches of government control and tyranny. So the reason why the white hats and, you know, Space Force and, you know, all the QAnon kept her death under wraps, because supposedly, according to them, they were the ones that executed her back in March 2020, I think this is what they're saying, was because they weren't ready to make the quantum financial reset, the switchover. So apparently they're ready to make that switchover now. So what they're saying now is that disclosure is basically going to come rapidly, because they're now ready to make that shift. So let's see. I'm keeping my eye on it. Y'all can keep your eye on it. You can see whether you think that that's true or not true. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, oh yeah, another thing. Some people are sharing videos of what is supposedly, what they're saying is a Filipino child escaping Buckingham Palace, like from a top window with sheets, and apparently plunging to his death. Guys, don't share this video, okay? I looked into it. I read the Snopes article. I know that Snopes is not, you know, it's kind of deep state disinfo to kind of thwart people away from the truth with a lot of things. I don't think that every little Gen Z person who's writing articles for Snope is working, you know, consciously working for the dark side, though. I think that's very, very naive. So some of the stuff is, you know, it's just, they're basically dismissing things because there isn't enough evidence, and then some of it's actually disinformation. So in this case, I'd had a look and I watched the extended clip. It seems to be disinformation, okay? It was not a Filipino child. It's a promo that they did for the Netflix show. It's an American Netflix show called The Royals. In the extended clip, you can see an actress, the actress who plays the, what's her name? Not Kate Winslet. The Duchess of Cambridge, Kate Middleton, or she's now Kate Windsor, right? The actress who plays her, or looks just like her, you see her in her underwear in the window, and then a man, he's a Mediterranean footballer, he's a grown man, he's not a Filipino child, escaping naked with one sock and through sheets, okay? So stop sharing that video and saying that it's a Filipino child escaping satanic rituals in Buckingham Palace, because it's just, you're just making things look a little bit silly. And I think it's really important, if you're going around spreading things, I see a lot of people spreading things, sharing things that they've seen other people sharing, and they haven't verified the source. And you're making everybody look really silly and really ridiculous. Like, make sure that you verify the source of any information before you share it, because you're very easily dismissed when you're sharing nonsense, and it makes it harder for those of us that are trying to verify everything and trying to make sure that everything that we present is truth. If we're not sure if something is truth, then we say we don't know if this is true or not. You decide, okay? If you're presenting something as truth and you haven't verified it, you're making the job much more difficult for those of us who are, you know, doing our due diligence to kind of fact check everything and verify everything for ourselves. Obviously it's not possible with everything, but yeah, just try and do your best to do that. Okay, so what have I seen in my work with clients, with the quantum field work that I've been doing with clients? Excuse me, my foot is just falling asleep. Okay, so something that I've been observing with clients over the last few months is a lot of royal codes have been coming in for a lot of people that are stepping into their sovereignty and into their mission on this planet. And this is really important because as these, basically the matrix is crumbling, like these systems that have been set up by, you know, the 13 Illuminati bloodlines for, you know, as a way to harvest energy, are crumbling. They are disintegrating. It's basically it's a new order, and you could call it a new world order, but it's their plans for their new world order are failing miserably. Okay, and what's going to happen is there will be a massive power vacuum. So while there are a lot of people that are newly waking up, that are kind of realizing what the agenda has been and what we've been controlled by for such a long time, those of us who've been awake to those things for a really, really long time, we need to actually start focusing on what we're here to manifest, because with power vacuums, there's always going to be somebody that's going to step in and take control and step into that power vacuum. Sorry, I'm just trying to... Sorry, I don't like it when it goes out of focus. So we need to make sure that those who step into those positions of power are aligned to the law of one and are working for the collective and not just working for their own interests, okay? It's fine to serve your own interests. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but if you're in a position of power and responsibility, you're in a position of service, okay? And you serve yourself by serving others. So, you know, I think that those of us who have done the work to kind of become source aligned need to start stepping into those positions, because if we don't and we allow somebody who's power hungry and corrupt to step into those positions, we're going to see the same cycles that we've been under just repeat for eons, okay? And we're going to fail in the mission that we're here to do. So yes, with the quantum field work that I've been doing, many royal codes coming in. In one particular session that I had with a client, Princess Diana came in really strongly. A lot of sapphire blue, royal blue sapphire codes, and this kind of beautiful diamond light. It was actually a crown. Looked very similar to the one Queen Elizabeth wears, but it was like this blue, royal blue sapphire, like blue velvet with like an actual sapphire and then diamonds. And it was basically like it was anchored into the throat, and it was kind of this frequency of like, yeah, like feminine royalty, matriarchal royalty, but true royalty, true divine royalty, not in like ruling over subjects, but in serving the collective, okay? Once you alchemize your masculine and feminine energies, masculine being the magenta ray and feminine being the aquamarine, okay, it's not the other way around, okay? That was where things got inverted, okay? That's an example of the satanic inversion that we've been living under, where those colors got swapped over, okay? In the higher realms, magenta is masculine and teal to aquamarine blue is feminine, okay, coming from the Holy Mother Arg. So I'm seeing a lot of these hierogamic colors, which is the royal purple, okay? And I think that this is why royalty during ancient times, during like ancient Roman times, would wear purple, because I think it was the beetle was like the beetle that they'd used to dye the cloaks was like very like luxurious and very rare and expensive, so only royalty could afford that color. Well, in the quantum field, when the masculine and feminine merge into hierogamic sacred union, the color that comes through is that royal purple, and a lot of that is coming through the fields and activating into people's light bodies at this time, that they step into their own divine royalty and reclaim their crowns. The crown chakra opens in, and you know, the divine light of the higher self avatar starts to come in. And a lot of your gifts will start coming online, you know, your multidimensional gifts. You'll start remembering your past lives. You'll start remembering your galactic history. This obviously comes once you kind of worked on healing your traumas that you're working through here at, you know, your earthly incarnation, and cleared the trauma from your bloodlines, a lot of which do have these reptilian genetics. So these are going to be the leaders of the new earth, you know, like, and I'm really stoked. I'm really excited because the clients that are coming to me right now have got like really highly coded mission templates. So yeah, it's a really, really exciting time. And, you know, if you feel like that's you and you feel like you might be coded for that, then really consider, you know, messaging me, and we can do a session together and I can kind of scan your field and see what's coming through. Or if you're still in the process of like healing and working through your traumas, then consider joining my course, Reclaim Your Crown. It teaches an ancient Ascension technology called Himalayan Kriya Yoga, which is the fastest system that I've ever found for, you know, healing your body of traumas and triggers. Like literally just in 10 days you can make such a big quantum shift, just using breath work and dynamic movements to actually purify your physical, emotional and causal bodies of traumatic imprints. And then it also starts to activate, you know, your multidimensional gifts. Okay, so that's all I want to say on that. And I had some amazing questions coming through on Instagram, so let's answer some of those. Oh, okay, so first off, I'll answer some of the questions that came into my DMs where people couldn't figure out how to put the question in the little box on Instagram. So somebody asked me, do I represent brands that are, let me find the exact message. Where is it? Yeah, okay. Okay, she asked me, do you represent companies that uses animal products or tested on them? Okay, so when it comes to brand deals, content creation, collaboration on social media, absolutely not. I only work with companies that are vegan, cruelty-free, and ethically manufactured. Like I've had lots of brands like Shein, for example, message me last week asking me if I'll do a brand deal. I'm not going to do one because I don't think that their stuff is made ethically. I'm not judging anybody who shops there. I've bought some underwear and some socks from there as well. I would never judge anybody for their like financial situation if they, you know, shop exclusively at Shein or places like that. But for me personally, I don't want to promote those types of brands because I know that the brands that are trying to do things ethically in this space and this time that we're in right now need all the help that they can get. Now, when it comes to modeling and what the work that comes through my agency that I get paid quite well for, I would say it's maybe 50% ethical brands and 50%, you know, just your standard normal businesses that are doing things in the old ways that are not ideal. So yes, I have modeled shoes for like leather brands. I have modeled mobile phone products that are made, you know, that have minerals that are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I would love to exclusively only model for, you know, brands like Fairphone, who are, you know, trying to be as conflict free as possible, and, you know, super ethical, sustainable brands only exclusively. But sadly, there aren't enough of them at this time that we're in history for me to pay my bills. And this is another reason why I would love to do more healing work and focus more on my healing work, because, you know, that's obviously like my mission work. But yeah, at this time, just full transparency. But you will not see me stand here and promote a company that is not ethical, vegan, cruelty-free. And so I'll just take this opportunity to do a quick shout out to Nails Inc. Let me just show you this. So I just recently partnered with Nails Inc. I did an interview like last week with L UK. They wanted to talk to a foot model, and if you don't know, I specialize in hands and feet. I do all types of modeling, but I'm like really, a lot of my money comes from hands and feet because I got really nice hands, really nice feet, if I do say so myself. So I reached out to Nails Inc. because I discovered them. I met this amazing makeup artist on a shoot, and she's like has an exclusively vegan kit. Her whole kit is vegan and cruelty free, and she was there doing my nails. And she had all this stuff from Nails Inc. And I was like, oh, are Nails Inc. vegan? She said they're exclusively vegan. The whole brand is vegan, obviously cruelty free. So I reached out to them because I had the interview with Elle coming up, and I wanted to only recommend cruelty-free and vegan brands. Hang on, let me open this. Yeah, I wanted to only mention cruelty-free and vegan brands, obviously, because for my personal kit, I only use cruelty-free and vegan. So they sent me a bunch of stuff, and then I mentioned them, and, you know, they sent me some really beautiful colours, which I featured on my stories. And then they invited me to Claridge's as well for high tea, and it was such a beautiful afternoon. Claridge's have got, like, if you want to go there for high tea, they have a full vegan menu. Like, they'll bring you, like, scones and clotted cream, and like little desserts that are all vegan. I was so impressed. And they've done Nails Inc have done this exclusive range with QVC. It's called Bottled Good Times. So this is not available on Nails Inc website. This is only available on QVC. So this is the one that I've got on. It's so pretty. Like, look at that. It's like a really pearly, pinky, oystery, iridescent shade. I just love it. And then they've got like this nudie rose gold. They've got like this Barbie-ish, or like, it's like a more grown-up Barbie-ish. Then this one is like this one's very 80s, isn't it? It's very like glam and it's sparkly. And then that's very Barbie-ish as well. And then that's like a deep red. That would be nice for the Christmas season. So yeah, yeah, you won't see me promote anything here on my social platforms, or talk about it if it's not vegan or cruelty-free. I might share pictures from like actual paid work that I've done. Like, I think I shared some pictures from, you know, like a foot and leg job that I did for Rupert Sanderson. Those shoes use leather. So just look for the hashtags. If I've got like a picture of myself in a pair of shoes and I've hashtagged it with vegan boots, it's because it's vegan. If I haven't, then just make sure that you double check before buying those shoes if you're vegan. So yeah, somebody else asked. Okay, so somebody else asked in my DMs. Let me get it. Sorry. Okay, so somebody contacted me. I'm not going to mention the name because it's quite a personal question. She's loving all the content, binging, watching all the Hero Scammers content. She told me a little bit about her story, but she wanted to ask about, because she's from quite a religious background, she wanted to ask about masturbation and my views on masturbation and if it's wrong or dirty or whatever. Obviously, I think it's an absolute travesty that religion has told people that masturbation is wrong. Now, obviously, it's different for men than it is for women. I understand with men, there's the whole tantric practice of like saving the seed and transmuting your sexual energy. I don't agree that it's the same for women, okay? Personally, I find that I don't masturbate that much because I'm in a process of, you know, hierosgamos and alchemical transmutation where I'm channeling my sexual energy and it's going into my mission. However, I fully support the practice of female masturbation. I think it is extremely essential, especially like, you know, when you're growing into your body. Like, I've been masturbating since I was like 13, 14, and I think it was very key for me learning my body and what I like. Your body as a woman and your clitoral network of like nerve endings, which is not just down here, okay? It connects to your central nervous system, your spinal column, your sushumna, and goes all the way up to the pineal gland, okay? So it's super important. Your orgasm is super connected to your spiritual awakening and the alchemical process of hierosgamos. So learning what turns you on and what will bring you to orgasm, not just the clitoral orgasms, but the deeper full body orgasms and the cervical orgasms, is essential as a woman, especially for the process of hierosgamos and, you know, accessing those higher states of like God consciousness where the crown opens up. That's usually with the cervical orgasm, which, you know, you either need like a crystal wand or an actual penis lingam to access those more cervical orgasms that open up the crown and bring in source light into the body. And it actually helps to anchor divine love into this physical realm. So it's really, and I'm talking about in divine union, okay? Don't do this with any randomer, okay? This is supposed to be between two beloveds in divine union. If you're not in divine union, then yes, I recommend that women learn to do this for themselves, so that when they do come into divine union, they are able to communicate with their person, with their beloved, their partner, what they like and what they want, and they're able to have boundaries around what they don't like and what they don't want. Okay, you're not just supposed to lie back, think of England, and let him do his work. Okay, because every woman is so unique that you need to know your own body, and you need to learn how to communicate with him what you like and what you want. And that's really important. Like, if you're able to do that in the most vulnerable space of, you know, intimacy, then you're able to do it when it comes to other things that are less vulnerable. Okay, so it's very important for your relationship. So yeah, I think it's important, and go for your life. And I highly recommend that, you know, you get yourself a, I don't actually have a crystal wand, but I do have, I'll show you what I have. Now, I don't actually use this that much, full disclosure. I need to learn properly how to use this, but I have used it a couple of times and it's amazing. So this was sent to me by the Art Erotic, lovely brand from New Zealand. She also does energy healing. And look, it comes in like this beautiful box with like these little crystals, and then she sent me 2 yoni eggs, and I got to choose which ones I wanted. So this one is black obsidian. This is amazing for cord removal. You just pop it in your yoni, go to sleep overnight, and set the intention that you want to remove a cord that you have to, like, ex-partner, ex-lover, maybe somebody that, you know, maybe you have like a traumatic sexual history with as well, like any kind of sexual abuse. You can remove the cord using the black obsidian. Is amazing for removing cords. Okay, don't cut the cords, unplug them. So this, yeah, I can't actually tell which is which. I think this is the jade one, actually. This is the black obsidian. So this is the only one that I've used, actually. And I've used it for cord cutting, and it works instantly. Like, I've told the story before how I used it, and then 2 days later I got an email from my ex-boyfriend. And you could tell from the email, I won't go into detail about the things that he said, but you could tell from the email that he had felt the cord being unplugged. And I hadn't spoken to him in a year, and it was like, it wasn't so much the relationship was difficult. The relationship was massive initiation for me. The breakup was just, again, yeah, an initiation. And then the jade is what would be historically used by the ancient, not priestesses. It was used in the Taoist tradition by the empresses of China, and it was actually kept a secret because, you know, it made their yonis so, I don't want to say, yeah, okay, maybe it can tighten it up. I don't know. I haven't experienced that. I know some women who have had children that say that it really tightens things up down there, but it kind of improves the strength of your pelvic floor. So there's different exercises that you can do with it, that you can find them on YouTube. You can just put it in, and, you know, you can do like some like yoga exercises that they kind of tell you how to do. There's a whole bunch of them. So look into that. But apparently it increases your orgasmic potential. It can actually help you have those multiple vaginal full body orgasms. I haven't used it just because I don't have issues in that area. So I haven't really felt the need to use it. But I will, and I want to compare it to what it's like when I don't use it. Okay, so, oh, why am I looking at this? I need to look at the phone where the questions are. Right, okay, so somebody asked what gives me hope. What gives me hope? I don't know what gives me hope. I just have hope. I'm always hopeful. I'm always optimistic. Even though I talk about really dark stuff, I feel like I'm really optimistic. The fact that I'm here, like, I know that I have a mission to help reveal certain things that other people can't see, and knowing that I'm here to do that, and that I'm going to be successful at it, just like I've been successful at everything else I've put my hand to, gives me hope. So yeah, I give myself hope, and God, knowing that God's got my back, that gives me hope. Someone asked if I'm coming to Pakistan. Not right now. I will eventually, but it's not in my immediate travel plans. But yeah, I do miss it. I would love to come back, and I will, hopefully next year I'll plan to come to both India and Pakistan. How to find truth and peace after leaving a religion one grew up with. It's clusterfuck. Just anchor in God's source. Okay, like y'all know that, like, God is real. So however you want to navigate things after leaving one religion, and kind of, you know, navigate different belief systems. Just be an active truth seeker. Just always be searching and trust that you will be guided to the right information, okay? But yeah, it can be a clusterfuck when you're going through an awakening process and you're realizing that everything that you were taught to believe might not be true. But there's also a homecoming that happens, okay? You might go through a period where you go, oh my god, this is all bullshit, and you just see the inversions and you see the deceptions and you move away from it, and you kind of go through a process, and then you might even come home to it. A lot of, you know, Emily talks about this, you know, she obviously, you know, she grew up in a Christian cult pretty much, and then she went all the way through the New Age and, you know, tarot readings and like witchcraft and spells and things like that, and now she's come back to Christ. But obviously the way that she interacts with Christ is and Jesus, very much, you know, Jesus is king, and a lot of, yeah, it's different, and she's learned things along the way. So just trust the process. New YouTube follower here and binging your videos right now. Any books that changed your life? I have a video on this channel where I break down all the books that changed my life, and I'll link it. If I look, guys, I just it takes so much time for me to watch the videos and then add the cards, so I might not link it. If I watch the video again, I'll link it and add the card, but I think you can just search my channel for life-changing books or something like that, or just type in books, you'll find it. How to make a soul beautiful. Well, your soul is already beautiful. Your soul is pure, but it's just that sometimes, because of traumatic imprints, there may be overlays that are actually blocking you from pulling in as much of your higher self as you would otherwise be able to hold. So you might have implants and, yeah, mainly overlays and frequency nets and inversions and things like that. So clear the trauma from your body and you'll be able to bring in more of your higher self. The best way that I found to do that is my course, Reclaim Your Crown. That's why I talk about it in every video, and I'm going to do more next year when I go to India. I'm going to finish my training and bring more courses and more versions, and then hopefully from there I want to integrate it more with the quantum field work as well. I recommend you can book a session with me as well, and I can check your field for overlays and things like that. But I do recommend that people do the Kriya Yoga first, okay? Because that really helps you ground into the body, and you might not then even need the sessions, or you might just need one session. Whereas if you don't do the Kriya Yoga, you might find that you might need like 10, maybe even 15 sessions if you haven't really done the grounding work, and you might need to still do the Kriya Yoga anyway, or some kind of other embodiment practices and breath work and lots of other tools. I mean, Kriya Yoga is just brings everything together, so that's why I've made it my mission to bring it to people at this time. Okay. Ish K says, I was just thinking of you, sending you a virtual hug and hope you're feeling better this week. That's very sweet. So Ish K is she is a fellow starseed and light worker who I connected with via her husband, who I met at one of the marches last year, and they're both amazing divine union couple who are shamanic practitioners and just amazing at bringing people together. They have all these beautiful gatherings at their house and stuff. So yeah, big love, Ish. Let's do something soon before I leave the country. Let's try and get together. But yes, okay, that's it. Oh no, people did, oh yeah, okay, so there were somebody asked how to heal trauma stored in the body and subconscious. Again, like I said, Reclaim Your Crown will heal the body of, you don't, like with therapy's great, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking talk therapy, but with therapy you have to know what you're trying to heal and kind of talk about it and bring it up. With Kriya Yoga, you don't need to talk about anything, and some people don't like talking about traumas that they've been through because it's very vulnerable and uncomfortable, and sometimes you don't trust therapists and things like that. I know I had a massive issue with trusting anybody who was part of the medical establishment. So for me, Kriya Yoga was just life-changing because you just clear that shit from the body. You don't have to talk about it, you don't have to re-experience it. Sometimes a memory might pop up, but then it goes very quickly because you cleared it out. So yeah, and then you use the breath to kind of purge it out. Sometimes you use like screaming and stuff like that, like You know, that happens a lot. Like when I was doing my teacher training, a lot of us are like, we weren't just breathing it out, we were yelling it out. So it's very, very powerful. Somebody asked how to rebuild focus. My mind is too restless. So first ask yourself, is what you're doing what your soul came here to do? Is it your actual purpose and mission? Because if it isn't, then obviously you're going to be procrastinating and doing everything else. So what lights your soul on fire? Like, what would you be doing if money were no object? And do that instead. I'm not saying give up your day job. I'm not saying that. Obviously you need to keep a roof over your head. But if you know that you're here to do XYZ while you're doing the day job, then make some time every week to do XYZ and just put consistent action towards it, okay? Like, I'm the type of person, I can't focus on one thing. Like, I have to have several things going on at the same time. Maybe because this is my last lifetime, so I want to do a little bit of everything. So I'm juggling a lot of balls right now, and it's intense. So I'm never bored, and I can focus. Trust me, I can focus. I can focus so hard because I have so much to do that I just have no choice but to focus. But I'll still get 11 hours sleep. Like, I'll still, sometimes I can't focus because my space is messy, okay? So if you need to clean your space, then do that. Do you have a morning routine? Do you have a healthy morning routine, okay? Because sometimes people can't focus because they haven't given themselves the space to nourish themselves, okay? Have a nourishing morning routine. My morning routine is I make an adaptogenic coffee. I add shilajit, ashwagandha, and chai, like Indian chai spice, tea spice, to the coffee. Fucking delicious, with oat milk and like coconut sugar, or I'll use gur, which is like a jaggery. It's like an Indian sugar or Pakistani sugar. It's like very unrefined. So it's like good for you, adaptogenic, delicious coffee. I'll have that in bed. I'll give myself an hour. And in that hour, I can do whatever I want. So I sometimes write in my dream journal. I sometimes do some scripting, which is a very powerful manifestation practice where I write all the things that I'm grateful for, some of which haven't manifested yet, but I'm grateful for them anyway because I know that they're coming. Or sometimes I scroll. If I really want to scroll social media or check my messages or talk to friends across the world, I'll do that. But I try not to do that every day because that can kind of throw your energy off a little bit and make you a little bit anxious because it kind of feeds the dopamine monster. So, but I'm not too strict about it because I like to nourish myself and I like to do what makes me happy. So in the morning, or I'll read a book. Right now I'm reading a book that a friend lent me. It's called Tantra. It's by Shashi Saluna. I'm just telling you what it is. I don't highly recommend. I mean, it's okay. It's good. It is quite good, but just if you're going to read it, be mindful that there are some distortions in it because this particular tantrika, it comes from the Osho and Agama lineages. And if you don't know why those are problematic, you can watch Wild Wild Country on Netflix where it talks about Osho and why he's a problem and a cult leader. And the other one, although I do think that he was trying to do some incredible things and trying to anchor in this kind of new earth, but he wasn't 100% source aligned. He was a bit, you know, a bit of a weirdo, a bit of a pervert in my opinion. And then the other one is the Agama Tantric school, which is in Thailand, that had all these allegations of sexual violence against vulnerable women. So, you know, if you come from those lineages, as most Neo-Tantra teachers do, and I don't even like the fact that they use the word Tantra because Tantra's got nothing to do with sex. Most of the Neo-Tantra Western teachers come from those lineages. So, you know, just be mindful of that. But I will say that I was pleasantly surprised by the book and it was better than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, you can read it if you want. It's okay. But yes, that's it. I think that's all the questions. No, I got some questions on Facebook as well. I lost them. Somebody asked me what are my galactic star lineages. So I've had my galactic star lineages read by Emily. She can do this for you. I can also do it sometimes as well if it comes up in the reading. I can't necessarily do it on demand. I can read what the field shows me. Emily's very good at like she'll set an intention. She can view a lot of things using the power of intention. For me, it's like if it's relevant to where you're at in your journey, then I've been able to read some clients' galactic lineages. My galactic lineages are Syrian, which I kind of already knew, but she confirmed it for me. And then she also said that I was very connected to the Lyran matriarchs, who are 13-dimensional beings. They are our original, most ancient ancestors. We don't, like, even the ET contacts who have been in touch with them don't actually fully know exactly where they came from and their origins. I think they probably don't even know their true origins, but they're very source aligned, very Christic, like feline beings. A lot of them look like lions. So yeah, she said I'm very connected to them. And because some of my, like, a lot of my really, really close friends have a lot of Lyran energy. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have time for, guys. If you want to ask any more questions, you can do so in the comment box below. If you want to book a session with me, then DM me on Instagram to book your sessions. I will love you and leave you, soul fam, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. One love.